Hi, we're going to have a look at Sweet Child of Mine today, and we're going to look at the intro riff in particular. For this song, if you want to play along with the record, you're going to need to be tuned down to E flat, but that means every string on your guitar needs tuning down half a step as well. So I'll give you some tuning notes so you've got something to tune to if you haven't got a chromatic tuner. So to start with, we have the low E is now E flat. The A string is now A flat. The D string is D flat. The G string is G flat. B string is B flat. And lastly, the E string is E flat, the high E string, the thinnest one. Okay, so this intro riff, follows or plays over a chord sequence, a chord progression, and it follows the chords around. So the chord progression that the rhythm section's playing underneath this riff is D major, C major, G major, and D major. Now you may have noticed I've added D in there twice because the progression finishes on D and starts on D. So you'll have 4 measures of D in one place. So once you've been round the first time, there'll be 2 measures of D and then another 2 measures when you start the sequence again. So moving on to the riff, it's pretty straightforward to play for the most part, and the riff mostly stays the same except for one note. There's just the one note that's moving, and that's the one that follows the chord progression. So if we look at the first 2 bars of the riff, or the first bar of the riff, because what after that is just repeated, and then I can sort of explain how the notes move around as the chords do. So if we start on the 12th fret of the D string, then we go to fret 15 on the B string, then fret 14 on the G string, then fret 12 on the G string, then fret 15 on the high E string, fret 14 on the G string, fret 14 on the high E, and finally fret 14 on the G. So you should have this. And that is one cycle of the riff, one round of the riff, or one bar of the riff. And each time we play over a chord, we do 2 measures, so we do 2 bars of it. So this is where we move up and follow the chord changes. So we've been playing from the D string 12th fret, which is a D note. We're now going to move up to D string 14th fret, which is an E note, but the E note comes from the C chord. There's an E right there in the middle of that C chord. So you'll be able to sort of hear as the chords change that this is where you need to be. And that is the only note that changes. Everything else stays the same. So we're on 14th fret D string, and then it's the same as the last time round where it was 15th fret B string, 14 on the G, 12 on the G, 15 on the high E, 14 on the G, 14 high E, 14 G. And that goes around for 2 measures. So we've gone. And then for the last variation of this riff, we just start from the 12th fret G string, which is the G note. So we're playing over the G chord. And again, the only note that's moved is the first note. So we've gone from 14 on the D string to 12 on the G string. And from there we go, everything else stays the same. So it's 12G to 15B, 14G, 12G, 15 high E, 14G, 14 high E, 14G. And that also goes round for 2 measures. And then we're back to the beginning almost, but we go back to our first version of the riff on the D string. And like I was saying before, we do two more measures of the D chord before we start the progression again. So it goes D for 2 measures, C for 2 measures, G for 2 measures, D for 2 measures, and then we start again. So we need to play our first riff over that D chord again. So this time you'll play it 4 times round to cover all of the measures of D. So that's what it would be like for the second time round. And if you listen to the recording, the song, you'll hear other instrumentation starts to come in then. So that's when we get these sort of rhythm chords being played underneath the riff and the bass player and the drums and everything. So we go around the whole thing 3 times in all. So once on its own, once with rhythm sections starting to build up and come in, and then the third time with everything in at full whack, and then we have this outro piece that takes us out of the intro riff. And we're basically what I would call pedaling. Well, it's not really pedaling as such, I suppose, but we're always going back to this 14th fret G string. So we're starting on 12th fret high E, 14th fret G, 15th fret B, back to 14G, 12 high E, 14G, 14 high E, 14G, 15 high E, 14G, 14 high E, 14G, 12 high E, 14G, and then I think we finish on the 15th fret B. So I'll do that real slow. And there we go. That takes us out of the intro. And if you're playing lead, you can play these other chord voicings. So that'd be a D, the C, and the G. So the C has a little, and the G has a. And then we go into the chorus. So that's it for this lesson. I just wanted to look at the intro riff because it's an iconic riff that pretty much everybody's heard of or knows of. So, you know, it's one of those really, really recognisable pieces. So, like I say, it's not too difficult to learn. I think I've been playing this since I was about 13. So pretty much when this track was current, you know. So, you know, I've known it for a lot of years, but with a bit of practice, it's quite easy to get your head around and get a handle of. So Okay, I'll see you all soon. Take care. Bye bye.